Hey everyone, welcome to today's explainer. Okay, so we're diving into something today that sounds, frankly, a little villainous. Mind control hacks. I know. It sounds like we're stepping right into a sci-fi movie, right? But what we're actually unpacking here is just applied human psychology. We're looking at how our brains process information, how they react under pressure, and how we make these rapid, automatic decisions without even realizing it. We've got some seriously fascinating stuff to decode today, so let's just jump right in.
So, let's get real for a second. Do you want to control someone's mind? Look, if we're all being totally honest with ourselves here, who hasn't wished for just a tiny bit more influence in their day-to-day life? Maybe you're just trying to get a friend to agree with your movie choice, navigating a really awkward conversation, or just trying to get a chore done without it turning into World War III. Well, understanding the subtle art of psychological influence is the total game changer here. And to be clear, we are absolutely not talking about magic spells or swinging a pocket watch. We're talking about scientifically grounded, super actionable techniques that plug right into the brain's automatic responses.
All right, to keep things snappy, I've broken down today's explainer into 3 highly effective psychological hacks straight from our source material. We're going to walk through each one step by step. But real quick, I got to give you a heads up. You absolutely need to stick around for the third one on this list. I mean, the first 2 are incredibly powerful for sure. But that third hack, it literally hacks human biology in a way that is so wildly counterintuitive, yet insanely effective. You won't want to miss it. Okay, let's get into it.
Hack number 1, the power of silence. Let's set the scene here. Imagine a situation, and we've all been here, where you're talking to someone and you have this gut feeling, this really strong suspicion that they are lying straight to your face. Or at the very least, they're holding back the real story. Now, our knee-jerk reaction in that moment is usually to go on the offensive, right? To interrogate them, argue, demand the facts. But our source material tells us to do the exact opposite. Do not argue, do not raise your voice, actually don't even ask a follow-up question.
Here's what you do instead. And the mechanics behind this are just brilliant. Step 1, you look them directly in the eyes. Step 2, you stay completely 100% silent. Just let that awkward, empty space hang right there in the air. Now, human beings, generally speaking, absolutely despise awkward silences. We hate them. But for someone who is lying, oh man, that silence creates a massive, almost unbearable amount of psychological tension. Because they aren't getting any verbal feedback from you to see if their little lie is actually working, their internal panic skyrockets. The sheer discomfort of your steady gaze and your absolute quiet literally forces their brain to hit the panic button and break that tension. And how do they do it? They start over-explaining, they backpedal, and ultimately, they just spill the whole truth. It is incredibly effective. Seriously, try it.
Moving right along to hack number 2, the false choice trick. So we're transitioning from the sort of passive pressure of silence to a much more active, sneaky form of psychological framing. Think about this. How do you get someone to agree to do a task without giving them the wiggle room to just flat out refuse? Well, you use the false choice. This is all about structuring your request in a way that entirely bypasses the brain's natural instinct to say no.
Here is exactly how you set this little cognitive trap. Let's look at the wrong way to ask first. Will you do this work? Well, the huge flaw here is that you're asking a yes or no question. You are literally opening the door and inviting their brain to consider saying no. Instead, you hit them with the false choice. Will you do this work today or tomorrow? Notice what just happened? You didn't ask if they'll do it. You've already established as a totally accepted fact that the work is happening. You're just generously offering them a choice of when. By giving them these 2 targeted options, you're handing them the illusion of control. But in reality, their brain gets instantly locked into choosing only between the parameters you just set. So just how effective is this little framing trick? Try 90%. Yep, according to the insights, 90% of people will instinctively just pick one of the options you handed them. Because you gave them a choice between, say, today or tomorrow, their brain immediately goes to work weighing those 2 specific options, and it completely forgets that refusing the task altogether was even on the table. It's wild. They'll find it nearly impossible to say no, simply because no wasn't on the menu you gave them. It's such a brilliant, frictionless way to guide someone's behavior. And now, here we are at hack number 3, the one I promised you earlier. This one is called the whisper effect, and it leverages biology in a totally unexpected way. I'm actually going to deliberately lower my voice here for just a second to show you what I mean. When you are dealing with a super volatile situation, like maybe someone is just furious and yelling at you, your tone of voice is literally the most powerful tool you have in your arsenal.
Think about it. When someone is yelling at you, your natural primal instinct is fight or flight, right? You want to yell right back to defend yourself. But if instead you force yourself to speak in a very, very soft voice, basically a whisper, well, the crucial point here is how their brain responds to that sudden auditory shift. When you drop your volume that low, the angry person's brain suddenly has to work so much harder just to hear and process what you're saying. It forces a complete cognitive pivot. Their brain automatically has to power down its emotional rage center just to divert enough energy to focus on hearing your lowered voice. So you aren't just telling them to calm down, which never works, by the way. You are literally forcing their brain's operating system to cool off so it can hear you. It diffuses the anger almost instantly.
All right, bringing my volume back up to normal now. So, we've covered the intense discomfort of silence, the clever trap of the false choice, and the biological override of the whisper effect. But before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. If these simple, tiny shifts in language and tone can so easily bypass our logical defenses, what other invisible forces are shaping the choices that you believe you're making entirely on your own? Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? So, which of these hacks are you going to try out first? Let me know, keep questioning everything, and I will catch you in the next one.